you ready? I'm saying, are you ready?
Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of From the Shed. I'm Pete George, the host, and once again we've got Shane Mack. G'day, Shane.
How you doing, Pete?
Good, mate. This week we're going to have a couple of extra topics in there. We're going to talk about a little bit about boxing because it was an Australian fight. We have a bit of a chat about Anthony Seibold getting the kibosh, and Richmond players being shitful once again, and then we'll get into the main part, the darts, after that. So welcome to the show. Don't forget to listen to us, and don't forget to like our sponsor, Avid Darts. They're a great online store, plenty of stock for everybody to buy. Anything from MVG's latest to the best out of New Zealand. That's at aviddarts.com.au. So, young Shane.
Yes, old Pete.
Young Tim Tszuy give Mr. Horn the brush over on Wednesday night, big time. And I think, don't know about you, but I just think that's the end of Jeff Horn.
Oh, it was always the end of Jeff Horn.
Yeah,
It was the passing of the guard. It was a big payout for Horn, and he didn't have to travel to do it.
Yeah, and for me, when I watch boxing, there's nothing worse than when a guy has to quit after a towel's been thrown in. That's everybody in your corner just saying that's it. And you can't really come back from that.
The problem with boxing for the last, many years is, like, if it was home and away, you'd have more chance of not guessing the ending of the home and away episode as you would as what's going to happen in the boxing.
Yeah,
because it's so scripted.
Yeah, but young Tim, he's got to be a good little fighter. I think he's got to be around for a while.
Oh. He's got bags of talent.
Yeah.
He'll go as far as he wants to go.
Yeah, but it was just a shame that there was a build up to nothing that everybody expected. But that's what boxing does.
I got asked on Wednesday the same question. It was like, how do you see the outcome of this fight and what happens? And I said, Horn gets stopped. Tim wins. The reality of it is Horn's finished. He's never going to replicate the Pacquiao fight. And he lost to your man Crawford for the title as well.
Yeah.
And then won it back. And then, whatever then after that. So it was, here you go. Here's your payday. You pass the title over to the young fella. He takes on Australian boxing. You sit down and have a nice little retirement fund there. And his corner threw in the towel before he'd take any more punishment.
Yeah, because it was getting ugly. Now, the thing for me in sport, and I always hate this, is it happens in AFL, and it just happened in NRL with Seibold falling on his sword. But this is my opinion. I'm not a big follower of NRL, even though my Bunnies won 38-0 or whatever it was last night. But if your players aren't up to it, it's not the coach's fault. And from what I can see from the Broncos, they haven't recruited exceptionally well over the last 3 to 5 years.
Well, see, I agree. They have recruited well in the sense that they've brought a lot of future stars into the club. But you go back through any of the teams that have won comps, no one's won it with a young roster.
No.
Everybody's won it with a mix of both. You need the experience and you need the youth. And they've majorly overbalanced and the tipping point with the youth. Yeah.
And it just made it so hard for Seibold to function, I think, is probably the best.
Well, when you're looking for that composure in a game, and I use Cam Smith as an example.
Yep.
He's probably the worst example because he's the best.
Yeah.
But when things are going bad, he'll just go, well, if I have to kick it on the third tackle, who cares?
Yeah.
It breaks up the routine of the other team. It settles his players down. It's like, oh, what to do that? They're kind of going, all right, we need to do something now.
Yeah.
Like the sports psychologies with the All Blacks. When things weren't going right for the All Blacks, Richie McCaw had a sign in every stadium he went to. There was he used to pick, pre-warm up captain's run or whatever it was called.
Yep.
He used to pick a particular part of the stadium, and he would focus on it, and he would count to 15 or something, and he'd reset. Kieran Reid had something different.
Yep.
But that was the sports psychologist that they got in, was when shit's going down wrong, slow down, pick a point, focus on what it is you want to focus on, and then go back to playing the game. Whereas there's been a long-running stigma around the Broncos that because they're the Broncos, they don't really have to turn up.
Yeah.
That the game's kind of won for them. They've got this big, fancy new, state-of-the-art training facility at Red Hill.
Yep.
And they walk around sipping chai lattes as if they've won the comp.
Yeah, and it doesn't happen. And that's sort of come a bit, if you have a look at that, the hard work that, like, everybody wrote off the Panthers last year, and look where they are now. They've just worked hard, got their act together, put all the noise of Gus Gould and everything aside, and gone off and started to play good football.
And like you mentioned Gus Gould and that, like, I think he's the forgotten element in their success there.
Yeah,
because he was part of the development of most of those players that are there now, and he was part of the recruitment of bringing in the likes of James Tamou and other senior players that have won comps at other clubs to help teach these young fellas, well, this is what you need to do to win a comp.
Yeah, and the fortunate thing down in Melbourne, they've had the isolation where they've bred that culture. They haven't had the scrutiny.
You look at Melbourne. Melbourne bring the rubbish from every other team and somehow make them good.
Yep.
And they do. Like, you take, like, Brenko Lee was playing at the Dogs and he was a nobody. Now he's a starting centre in a top 4 side.
Yeah. And that's a cultural thing.
Yeah, the culture. And then Melbourne is just like, all we want you to do is these 5 things, and we want you to do them right.
Yep.
It's not a complicated game.
No sport is. Well,
the difference, like you said, like you're talking about the Panthers. The difference between the Panthers and the Broncos is you've got Nathan Cleary there, who is an out and out like leader of a team. He controls the game. He controls the tempo. The Broncos haven't got that.
No. But having said that, what's his name? Darius Boyd played his biannual game the other week. He played all right the other week, and then he goes missing.
I have not been a fan of Darius Boyd over the last few years, but I will give him a rap. He's probably about the only one him and Payne Haas has probably been the only two that have actually gone, well, look, this needs to change. Let's give it a dig.
Yeah.
And slowly some of the younger fellas are buying into it as well. I think Seibold was brought in there as a scapegoat.
Yeah. And that's what it looks like. Like you got to give. I've always, when a new coach comes in, you've always got to give him at least 2 full seasons. And if you go to the AFL and you have a look at the Suns, another Queensland team, and what Stuart Dew's done, Stuart Dew's into his second year, or maybe his third, but definitely done 2, and the difference that makes. To me, the first year is the coach getting a feel for everything. The second year is the execution of what the new coach wants, and then you can judge from there. I don't think they've done. I don't think they've done that to Seibold.
Well, see, for me, and the reason I think he's been brought in as a scapegoat is the Broncos are too big of a team to go, oh, we're doing a rebuild.
Yep.
The Broncos say they're doing a rebuild. Everyone's like, you have the pick of the Queensland talent. You've torn away more guys than you know what to do with.
Yeah.
You've handpicked the best, and you're going through a rebuild.
Yeah.
Like, how does that happen?
Yeah.
You're one of the most financially secure clubs in the comp, and you're going through a rebuild.
Yeah.
So what I think they done was, rather than going through a rebuild, Bennett was going. They brought in Seibold, who had a good season with a good team.
Yep.
At the Seds. Maguire had them fit and battle ready.
Yep.
And they went, well, we'll give Seibold a year, maybe two, see how he goes. And we'll try and sign the players we want, try and move on the ones we don't. And then after a year or two, when he stuffs up or when shit hits the fan, because we're going through a rebuild without being a rebuild,
yeah.
Then we'll bring in the coach we want. He'll make a couple of signings and bring in players that he wants, and we have a good side for him to add to for next year.
So who do you reckon they'll get?
Well, the hot tip is that it's going to be Kevy Walters.
Yeah. And therein lies, to me, therein lies a problem. Like, he's been around the club. He's a decorated Bronco, and it's just, to me, that's not right. If you, once again, because of my AFL background, if you have a look at Alistair Clarkson, Hawthorn's coach, the most successful coach over the last decade, and then you have a look at the coaches that have come from his tutelage, and that's, premiership coaches left, right and centre. And it just, instead of keeping the culture in the club, they teach and then they go out. And that's...
Well, like any good head coach, and Wayne Bennett done it for years. Like, Wayne Bennett used to bring in a player or a coach from another club who worked with the coach he's going against.
Yep.
Picked his brain, absorbed all the information he needed out of him, and then went, look, you're good enough to go coach somewhere else.
Yep.
And then the team he was struggling to find out what they were doing, he'd bring in a person from that team and pick their brain and then send them back out somewhere else. And a lot of coaches have one under the... Like, Craig Bellamy was one of the coaches who studied under Bennett.
Yeah.
Now the competition is littered full of people who have studied under Craig Bellamy.
Yeah.
And Seibold was one of them.
Yeah, but not everybody makes a great coach.
No, and that's... But, like, a good coach will only bring a team so far. There has to be a certain amount of talent and will in a team as well. Like, the team has to want to win. Now, I don't think any of the Broncos players go out deliberately going, we're going to lose tonight.
No. And
I just don't think...
And no sportsman does. Or sports person does. You go out there to play your best that you can, but if you're mentally not there for, all it takes is 3 or 4 not to gel with the coach, and the coach is in trouble.
Like, this is the one thing that I always find hilarious when, this sort of thing happens to a coach. Oh, he lost the playing group. We just weren't ready for tonight, or we just weren't up for it. What do you do all week? You know what I mean? Like, you get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to train day in, day out. You play one game a week. They're not playing 4 or 5.
No.
How are you not ready for it? Like, how many companies out there run successfully when you don't like your boss?
Yeah, it's
you don't have to like your boss to do your job.
No.
And at the end of the day, that is their job.
Yep, is to go out there, execute what the boss is saying, to the ability that they're given. And I've got a little bit of... I just had a quick look at, because I was curious. Seeing we're talking NRL. Titans 14, Dragons 10.
Go on, the Titans. Is that finished?
Finished, full time.
I was listening to it in the car, and it was 8-0 to the Dragons, and then the Titans had just scored.
Yeah, so that's
and me being a poor Titans fan, that's a good result for me.
Yeah, and the other phenomenon before we move on to the AFL bit that I want to get off my chest, it'll be interesting to see if the coaching phenomenon happens with the Broncos, and that's normally when the coach steps down, the team wins the following week, and this is the week for
Yeah, true. Like, he hasn't been there for the last 2 weeks because he was in that quarantine down in Sydney due to family reasons or whatever.
Yeah. But now he's gone.
It'll be interesting to see if Kevin Walters does get the job.
Yeah,
how well he goes. Like, he's coached the Queensland side where he's pretty much got the pick of.
You got the best of the best. How many series did he win?
How much coaching do you actually really have to do?
How many series did he win as coach?
I'm sure he has. I don't think he has won one.
No. So
I don't think he's won one since. Like, to give him a bit of credit, he has gone through the biggest changeover of players in the last. Like, he's lost Cronk, Thurston, Smith, Slater.
Yeah.
They're not just guys. You just go, yeah, I'll have another one of you, thanks.
You take one of them out of a team, never mind four.
Oh, and you wouldn't care. You wouldn't care which one.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what he can do at the Broncos, because I don't rate him all that much as a coach.
Yep.
I think he'll do all right at the start because a lot of the ex-Broncos players will help him.
Yep.
But I don't think he's a big enough name within the Broncos or a big enough personality for those young lads to go, well, Kevy's here. Let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah, the bit I got to talk about on the AFL, and it happens a bit in the round ball game, and that's diving. That's diving, and it's starting to creep into the AFL, and it is disgusting. And
it's creeping into every sport.
Yeah, and it like, having played footy and everything like that, I just find it horrendous for the game and how the game is perceived. And when blokes are getting a brush on the shoulder and throwing themselves back and getting a 50-metre penalty, and it changes an outcome of a game, that is wrong. And that's what happened the other week with Richmond.
And that's what's happening, is it's all becoming so finely tuned, and the errors for mistakes are so small that players are willing to cheat to win.
Yeah,
and that's what it is. If you take a dive when someone hasn't hit you, you're cheating.
Yeah, and the amount that the AFL players get paid is good money. So when they go up to the tribunal, they've won the game from a dive, and they get fined $2,000. It ain't too much out of their back pocket for a win.
No, and the club probably pays it because they've got a hefty bonus for winning the game.
Yeah. Whereas if the AFL was fair income and want to cut it out, and they go, well, here's a $10,000 fine for the first muppet to do it, the rest will pull their head in. And that's like the same with Tom Lynch. I know you don't follow AFL too much, but Tom Lynch used to play at the Suns, went to Richmond. They're full forward. He's had three fines, and then he goes and does a jumper punch, got the bloke flush in the throat, and gets off. And it's just, the AFL wants a certain appearance of the game, and that's not the appearance. But this guy keeps on hitting blokes and keeps on getting off. And, there's only so much stupidity that can go on with one player, and he's the epitome of it. So it's super frustrating watching a sport where it's so physical, blokes doing stupid things like diving and jumper punching, and you don't see it in rugby. You just see clean, solid hits. Like, there was a couple of hits last week, and I just thought, mate, I wouldn't have got up. Some of them.
Oh, yeah, like not as even a got up, you wouldn't have woke up.
Yeah,
would have been the end of you.
Yeah. But it's just one of those frustrating things. But the diving in sport, that's got to stop.
It has creeped into the rugby and to union and the NRL.
Yep.
And you hear the refs call it. You go, you're milking.
Yep.
And the ref calls them out, and then everyone else, those players are embarrassed then because they've been caught out doing it. And what should happen instantly, and the referees in any sport should be like this. Go back to the round ball game and everything. They're talking about give them a yellow card or fine them. No, you see someone and you think he's diving, red card instantly.
Red card or a penalty if it was soccer for me. Just
no penalty.
Just red card.
Play on, red card. You're off.
Yeah. Penalty to the opposition, a red card. That's how tough I am on diving. Now,
well, you look at it. Not only do you lose a man on the field, you lose that player for the following week.
Yep.
If it's a straight red in soccer, or I'm not sure, like the AFL, you probably go to tribunal and you get a case to answer to.
Yep.
But a straight red's a straight red.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't have
you're down a man for the remaining of the game. You're down a man the following week. And then sooner or later, if that person gets a few red cards for diving, who's going to want to touch them?
Yeah. No one.
And that's how you stamp it out.
Yep. Very true. But now we get to the big one of the get ready to plaster your ears. We move on to so we're now back. Excuse me, the Premier League's back and life's slowly getting back to normal with darts. Bullshooters won on Wednesday. And there's been a few upsets along the way in the first three games back of the Premier League. We're going to do a little bit of it because it's running now from excuse me, it runs. We've had our first 3 nights. Then tomorrow morning it goes for another 3 nights, and then there's a break, and then there's, I think, 4 nights straight after that to finish up the rounds. So we're going to do Smack's first off the rank. He's got the running sheet there. He knows all about it, the good, the bad, and the ugly of the first 3 matches, and it's not our tipping.
That's definitely the ugly bit.
Yeah, so what's your good, the bad, and the ugly from the first 3 rounds back of the Premier League?
My good was, one of the goods was Gurney getting a couple of wins.
Yep.
It was nice to see someone we had completely written off defy the odds.
Oh yeah, he was shot. He was out in the paddock. He wasn't coming back, Gurney.
And if you listen back to the last show, I just said whoever turns up on the night can win a game.
Yep.
And by Jesus, wasn't there some of those?
Yeah, it was. The good for me. And I've always liked him, and Glenn Durrant, just not phased, sticks to his guns, not worried about who he's playing. He gets behind, he still fights it out. So that was a good for me.
Glenn Durrant to me he's like a local player playing in the big stage. Like, you see every bit of frustration on his face. You see the ups and downs, the highs and lows with him.
Yeah.
He's he would have been great in like the 50s for like the TV that had no sound.
Yeah.
Because you knew every emotion by the look on his face.
Yeah. Yeah.
And his interviews afterwards are crack ups, like they're hilarious.
Yeah.
He's still talking about everyone else as if they're better than him, and he's whipping them.
Yeah. And that's his, it must be hard for someone, what is he, in his 50s, I think, just turned 50?
He's nearly, I think, just turned 50, or he's turning 50.
He's won 3 world championships in the PDA that everybody says or said that he can't come across to the PDC and make a name for himself. And in 2 years, there's every chance he's going to win the Premier League, in my opinion.
So it's a high possibility, and it won't be long. By the end of the year, he'll probably be in the top 10 in the PDC as well.
Yeah, and he'll stay there. Because the ugly for me over the 3 days has been Rob Cross. That
I don't know if it's ugly in the sense of, you know, that it's like ugly. It's a shame.
Yep.
Like it's almost a travesty to see a player go from such heights to such a low.
Yeah, I was listening to or reading part of his interview where he said that he's having trouble hitting doubles. You can't hit 2-3 trebles on a consistent basis. You know, like he I can't remember who it was against. I think it was the first match where he had like 14 tons. But whoever he played had like 9 140s and 6 180s. And in the PDC, tons aren't, you know, like
enough.
They're like 80s for us when we play during the week. And
they're like a straight 60. It's like 320s.
Yeah, and
their minimum score is a ton.
Yeah, and then when you're up playing the best of the best, which you are doing in the Premier League, and you're not hitting at least 2 trebles, you're going to be in trouble. And it doesn't matter whether you get to a double or not, and the other guy's going to beat you. So that was my ugly. What's your ugly?
My ugly would be the downturn of Van Geeuwen.
Yeah, that's a good call.
So, you know, you got 3 nights there, and, you know, he got towelled against Gary Anderson.
Yep.
Durant, you know, for the boring player that Michael Van Geeuwen made him out to be, he made very easy work of Van Geeuwen.
Yeah.
And who did Van Geeuwen beat in the other one? Rob Cross, was it?
Yep. Yeah, he beat Rob Cross.
Like, you know, kick a dog when he's down.
Yeah. But
you know, like, it's not exactly the you know, the number 1 ranked player in the world, you know, the machine, Mighty Mike.
Yeah. But a 167 check out will sort anyone out, and that's what Darren did to MVG. That was and
well, like, as Doran said himself, like, the lack of respect that he gets, especially Van Geeuwen, shows Durant, you know, and to come out before the game and say that Durant's just a boring player.
Yeah. And
well, that as it may be, but he's winning games.
Yeah. I'll go and you won't be able to see me for a minute, but that's all right. I'll jump onto a site that I get some scores from, but
that'll be the happiest minute of this conversation.
Yeah, well, that's why we don't broadcast on YouTube or anything with heads like ours, buddy.
That's why they invented radio.
Yeah, this is the best thing about it. Now I got to go to the 7. It was 7-3, right?
Yeah,
and his highest checkout was 167. So he's only had that one checkout, and it just changed everything. But he averaged 104 against MVG. And MVG,
you average 104 against anybody.
And it's
you're going to be extremely hard to beat.
Yeah. And then even in the draw with Peter Wright, he averaged 102. And where's the other match? 7-4 over Rob Cross, and he averaged just shy or just over 106. But and another 167 checkout there. But I know I was a bit hard on Rob before, but in that match against Durant, he averaged 103.
That was probably that was his best game out of the 3 by far.
Yeah, so he averaged 103 with a 124 checkout. So,
like, you look at Durant's previous games, 104, 102.
Yeah.
Rob Cross's average of 103 is pretty much good enough to beat him.
Yeah.
But not when he's throwing 106.
Yeah. And Yeah, so I do agree with you there that and you either love this commentator or you hate him, and that's Wayne Mardell. And he picked up very early in, I'm pretty sure it was the Durham MVG match with MVG throwing his darts. They weren't going in at the right angle.
Yeah.
Which means that he was tensing up, and he kept on saying, watch him, he's shaking his arm out, he's twitching.
Yeah, he's tense. Yeah.
And
but that stems back to what we had said in the previous one about he's not comfortable with the darts he's using.
No. And he's not confident
Like he's
in
not
himself.
happy. Yeah. But again, it's back to the darts he's using. Like, if I guarantee you now, if he goes back to his old darts, I don't think he gets beaten between now and Christmas.
No. But having said that, the bad for me was Gerwin Price's bitching and moaning after in the press conference about the crowd noise and everything. But I got a funny feeling that the Iceman's back. The 7-0, I know it's only our favourite player on tour, but what I mean, but it was a killing 7-zip, and we did in the previous show. And thanks for all the listeners from the shed. We appreciate you listening to us. We had a real good download on the previous shows, and let's do it again this show. But 7-0, and it was clinical.
See, like you're saying, that's like the bad in his whinging. Like I watched the Michael Jordan documentary recently of the last game.
Yep.
And he actually said that he used to make up stuff that people said about him to fire him up for games. Like that's how dark he was willing to go mentally to fire himself up for games. And I don't think Gerwin Price is any different.
Yeah, well, that's valid.
I think the PDC putting the booze in, which he probably asked for, if truth be told. He probably asked him to put it in to try and help him play a bit better, or what, to add that atmosphere that he's used to.
Yeah.
And then when it put him off, he just went, well, nah, stuff yous. I'm being me.
Yep.
And I'm going to prove yous wrong.
Yeah.
And then he comes out, tells Gary Anderson, and then wipes the floor with Wadamina.
Yeah. But the match against Gary Anderson, I thought, okay, if he can do that again, like absolutely monster another player, like he made Gary look second rate.
Oh, he made him look very, very average.
Yeah. And for Anderson to come off that win against Smith in the first round, that was to see that happen. I was shocked when I was watching it.
I was surprised, and then after he copped the flogging from Price, and I seen he was playing MVG, I'm like, oh, I don't like how this is going to go from. And then he went out and he gave it to MVG.
Yeah. And
but that's, to me, the Gary Anderson's been round the block probably more than anyone else who's in that comp at the minute.
Yep.
So he knows the highs and lows, and that's one of the things I like about Gary Anderson. Like, he never kind of goes and hides from a bad result.
No, just takes it on the chin. Next.
Mm.
And there's a couple of other players we'll talk about. There's Nathan Aspinall. Started off well, and he's sort of hasn't been too good. Michael Smith, I thought, let him win with some of the stupid stuff that he did. Then Daryl Gurney beat him 7-5. He missed some opportunities there. And
I thought Aspinall let Gurney win in that one.
Yeah. Yeah, to get him off the bottom, but yeah, and then you got he beat Gerwin Price 7-4 in that first round, which was quite good, but he doesn't look like he's got the spark to me, Aspinall. He's throwing okay, but he's had a couple of, having said that, he's had a couple of opportunities, taken them, and Smith was Smith was fairly ordinary in that third match.
Yeah, like Smith went on an absolute rampage at one point, and then just couldn't kill it off.
No.
And Aspinall is very much like Wright in the sense that he feeds off the atmosphere.
Yep.
And because he is a fan favourite with the walk on and his high score and big checkouts, people get behind him. There's not many people around that don't like him.
Yeah, he's one of those people.
He's a likeable character.
Yeah. Yep. And then the other one is Peter Wright. He's just sort of been zipping along.
Peter Wright.
Doing his thing, shaking his head, beating people that he should.
Being Peter Wright.
Yep.
Oh, there's a $9 note.
I'm just pulling up.
Miscounts in one game to cost himself the win.
That was funny, the look on his face when he realised what he did. But I tell you what, if you go back to the footage, and I can't remember who the ref was for that match, but even he had a smile after he threw the dart and walked back. He had a smile on his face.
Yeah, like I think everyone found it funny.
Yeah, so
you've got the world champion miscounting.
Yeah.
How often does that happen?
It makes you feel human. So the table at the end of Judgment Night is Glenn Durrant is on 14 points, Peter Wright on 12, Nathan Aspinall 11, Gary Anderson and Michael Van Gerwen on 10. On points, Van Gerwen's plus 6, so he's got 6 up his sleeve there. Then you got Gerwin Price, Michael Smith, Darryl Gurney, and Rob Cross was eliminated. So that's got us to the what I assume we call the finals, wouldn't we? Starting to move towards the finals.
Yeah, it's the next the run into the finals.
Finals, yeah. So I've forgotten my other running sheet. Here we go, because I've done it in Australian times this time for everybody that's listening. These times are Australian times that we're talking about, not these weird English stuff that the PDC send me and drive me nuts. So on this tomorrow morning at 4 o'clock, it'll be on Foxtel and KO. Stay tuned. We might be doing something good with KO. And then the first game is going to be Glenn Durrant versus Gerwin Price.
There won't be video.
Nah. If you guys could see these two rough heads, fair dinkum.
We were like two bits of sandpaper rubbing together.
That's it. Yeah, so we've got Glenn Durrant and Gerwin Price. Now, I know in the last episode I give you a bit of stick for going soft and plucking draws. I think this could be a draw.
I'm going with Durrant.
Yeah.
You're going soft.
Yeah, I'm going soft this week. I'm going the draw in that match.
It is a tough pick because after the last two nights, destroying Gary Anderson, destroying Wadamina,
yeah,
and then Durrant on a high from his wins as well.
Yeah,
it is a tough choice on that one. I'm going for Durrant for the same reason I was going from against Gerwin, often against Van Gerwen.
Yep,
is that Price likes to play fast.
Yep,
Price is a rhythm player, and Durrant doesn't let you do that.
No, he plays his own game, and that's what darts is all about: playing your own game. Then
when you're at the hockey, you own the hockey.
That's it. The next one's Peter Wright and Gary Anderson. I'm going Peter Wright.
I'm going Gary. Why not?
Okay. It's nice to see you going out on a limb this week. But,
well, I thought if I went for a draw, I'd just be called soft. So.
Yeah. But Pete Wright, I just think he's just starting to steady and throw a little bit more consistent. The only thing that'll bring him undone is his counting. but he's if he doubles early in his matches, like in his first set, then he's on. And then we've got Nathan Aspinall and Michael Van Gerwen.
I'm going the Asp on this one as well.
Yeah, I'll go the Asp. I reckon that's a fair call. And then we go Smith and Gurney. I'm going to go Smith because I think Gurney's going to have a sigh of that he hasn't been knocked out of the Premier League again.
I'll go with Gurney then. I'll go the opposite. Why not?
Okay.
I reckon it might be a changing point for Gurney to spur him on a little bit.
Yeah, I hate. Like from what you shared with everybody listening to the show last week about him and his heart rate and keeping it under control, I hope he does kick on, to be honest.
It makes him go from a very hateful player to you nearly have how would you say it? You nearly have a shred of what's the word I'm looking for?
It's not.
You leave a shred.
It's not sympathy. It's just an understanding. I think that what he's about.
It's a bit of both, actually. It's a bit of sympathy. You're like, well, now I know why he's such a fun sponge.
The king of the fun police. But you know, you got to do what you got to do in your job to be successful, and if that works for him,
you don't get to the position he's in without doing something that works for you.
Yeah.
And again, like Durrant isn't the prettiest player to watch, but he wins games.
Yep, that's all you got to do.
And that's what it's about.
Yeah, it's a bit like golf. You don't draw pictures on a golf card, do you? As long as you get there in there. As long as you get the number on there. So the night 11, which is Sunday, the 30th our time, once again on Foxtel 505 and KO at 4 a.m. First match is Daryl Gurney and Peter Wright.
I would have to go for Peter Wright on this one.
Yeah, you got to this time.
I can't see like Michael Smith's, hit and miss. I can't see Wright dropping his game enough or Gurney picking it up that much.
Yeah, he's got to
beat him.
Yeah. Then it's Michael Smith and Nathan Aspinall again. I'm going to
go for Smith on this one.
Yeah, I think he's got to give the Asper a bit of a bite here. I think the bully boy's going to get bully, I think, and really give it.
It's piss of the pot. I got off at time really for him.
Yeah. You just got to smack the shit out of him or he's in trouble. He won't be in the. And then Gary Anderson and Glenn Durrant. I'm going Glenn on that one.
I am as well, in the same sense that Gary's a rhythm player.
Yep.
And
talking about rhythm and speed, how quick was the Van Gerwen and Anderson match?
But you look over the last few years, they've been the best games. Yeah. It doesn't matter who wins.
No.
It's because both of them, like, there's no, come-ons, there's no, drop a flight or slow down, taking my darts out of the board. There's that mutual respect where they just go, look, I'm going to beat you.
Yeah.
And you're going to try and beat me. So let's just have at it.
I'm trying to find it.
It's like in boxing when two boxers just come out and swing for the fences.
Yeah.
There's no holds back. There's no holding back. There's no defense. There's no, there's no tactics to it. It's just, I'm going to try and outscore you and peg out quicker.
I got a funny feeling, and I could be wrong here. I haven't got the stat that I want, but it was like 13 minutes. Their match. There was a real stupid number that it went through. It was that quick.
I'd like to see the time on the Gawain Price Gary Anderson game as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll have a look at them and we'll get them into the next show. But Good.
I went to heat up my milk for the wheat bix, and when I came back, the game was over.
That's what I was like. Stir the coffee and it's done. Coffee, bang, done. And then the last game on Sunday, or match on Sunday, is MVG versus Gerwin Price.
I'm going with MVG.
I'm going with the Iceman. I think the Iceman's back quietly.
I think MVG has a mental spot in Price's head where he just can't close him out.
Yep. Okay.
And it's only a matter of time before MVG just rips the roof off the place and goes, enough's enough.
Yeah. But having talking about numbers, MVG still hasn't beat Glendarren in 3 attempts.
Yeah, it's another one. I think is more of a psychological battle than an actual darts perspective. I think Vin Gowen just has it in his head that Durant has the upper hand on him.
Yeah, how can this bloke come along and steal my thunder? I think it's a bit more along that lines.
Yeah, here comes Dad's army.
Yeah, he's only BDO and he's kicking me ass. Then on Monday morning at 4 again on 5:05 on Foxtel and KO. First matchup is Aspinall versus Gary Anderson. I've got to go Gary Anderson there. I think
I'm going to go the Asp.
Okay, I'll let you take it. At least you're not picking any draws this week. And then we've got Peter Wright and Gerwin Price. That got to be
going
tough.
with Wright.
Yeah, I'll go with Price then, because I think he's, as I keep on saying, I think he's back. I'll go with the Iceman. Seen I use his flights. Then we've got Michael Van Gerwen and Michael Smith.
I'm going with MVG. Another one that psychologically has beat Smith before he plays him.
Yep. And then the last one of this block of 3 is Glendarren and Daryl Gurney. And these are that one. He'll give him a workout. And
I hope you bring a big fun sponge for that one.
But I'll tell you one thing: this could go overtime on the telecast with the speed.
Yeah, you want to hope a couple of the other games are quick.
Yeah, but
I'll put the extend by 30 minutes on the record on that one.
Yeah, it could be the case, but but Darren will win that in probably 35, 40 minutes. But
yeah, for the first 4 legs.
Yeah. So that's
on my tips. Anywhere I've backed Peter Wright, I just want to say it depends on what darts he turns up and actually uses.
Yeah, there's no disclaimer now that you're gone for him, but I think he settled down a little bit with the darts. I've only seen him use a couple of sets, but over the 3 games.
He's only played in a handful of tournaments for the year.
Yeah, but he's gone back to his, what are the ones with the black barrel that he's got?
No, well, he went back to the Euro ones? The ones that he had won.
The Euro Championship with, or whatever it was, yeah.
Yeah, he had gone back to them, and then I don't know if he's changed again, but he had those specifically designed ones that won them the World Championship. And he's chopping and changing again.
Yep. Now, I am going to give another shout-out to Avid Darts, who are supporting us. We're just finalising the competition for the MVG Darts. That'll be out for the next show, which will be, if Smack is available, Monday night.
I'm sure I'll keep myself free.
Yeah, Monday night. We'll do the summary of the 3 matches or the 3 days over the weekend. And we'll have the competition info there as well. And we'll talk about anything else that pops up. But there's one thing we won't talk about, and that's how sport and politics are getting in the way, except for darts. But Yeah, it's good to have the darts back. It's good back playing darts. I don't know if you're enjoying your darts. I didn't play Wednesday, as I said, but the bull shooters, go the bullies.
Well,
we won again.
I played Wednesday, and I probably shouldn't have played my first game.
That bad?
Oh, like a blind man with no arms trying to play darts.
Yeah, it's. I know I don't have great ability, but when I'm used to throwing 10, maybe 11 tons a night in B grade, and I'm only throwing 3, and that's out of luck. I'm struggling a bit, but a bit of practice, and I'll be back.
I'd say in my first game, my highest score for about 5 legs would have been 60, and in one leg I hit a 180, a 140, a ton. I think I had a 15 data. The next leg I hit a 180, and then that was it. It was fast and furious and gone again.
Yeah. There's nothing better than the big ton and then the 26 afterwards. That's my skill.
26s. If there was a scorecard kept for 26s, I definitely have won that on Wednesday night.
Yeah, trophy champion I am with that. So, everyone, thanks again for listening to From the Shed, brought to you by Avid Darts, the wonderful darts people, aviddarts.com.au. I won't blast Smack's ears out, put a little bit of music in the back. But make sure that you listen to the show on your favourite podcast platform, whether it's Spotify, Apple, Google, we're even live in India. We've got an audience in India. So
in India,
yeah, our the people that host our podcast, they hooked up with Jovasun, I think it's called, and that's the biggest podcast hosting and distributor in India, and we're getting quite a good audience over there. Might have to bring in cricket. And
you have to start getting these people to subscribe so they don't have to wait.
Yeah, so that's
for us to tell them when.
Yeah,
tell them when it's on. They can get the updates straight away as to when we.
Yeah, so if you subscribe, as I said, and Smack said, if you subscribe to your favourite platform, you'll get notified as soon as we come out. Later down the track, we'll be having some live shows too, and I've hopefully teed up a few good guests. Some from overseas and some from Australia. And that's about the show. Smack, thanks for your time once again, bud. And,
no worries, buddy. It's been a pleasure as always.
And as we always say, or I always do with me darts, happy tossing.
And hopefully you hit something.
That's it.